There are truths so hidden. They don't just challenge what you believe, they dismantle who you think you are. Unsee. Pause here. Punto. Because the moment you realize what you're about to hear, your world begins to split, and there's no going back. Let's begin with a question you were never meant to ask. Who decided what your life should look like before you ever had a name? Before you had language to label the world? Someone handed you a version of reality. Your family, your school, your society, they installed a program, not because they were evil, but because they were also running a program handed down to them, and you believed it, not because it was true, but because it was all you knew. But what if the version of reality you've been living was never meant to be the real one? What if this isn't life, but a simulation of what others told you life should be? That's where we start. Because right now, you're standing at the edge of something far bigger, and the truth is calling you. Gently, uncomfortably, powerfully, punto. Most people feel it but can't name it. They wake up anxious, restless. They keep moving, but never arriving, because they're trapped in a construct designed to keep them asleep. You see, consciousness doesn't live inside your body. It uses your body, punto. It wears your face, but it is not your face. And once you understand this, you begin to notice the cracks in the simulation. Why does time sometimes stretch and other times vanish? Why do your thoughts seem to ripple outward, then return as external events? Why do moments of deep emotion seem to break the rules of what's possible? These are not glitches. These are invitations, punto, to remember tanto, not learn, not discover, but to remember what your soul has always known, that you are not a passenger, you are the projector. And the film reel is shaped by belief. That's why the most dangerous thing in the world is not what you fear, it's what you believe without question. The beliefs you inherited, the ones hiding in plain sight, punto. The ones that shape your relationships, your money, your health, without your conscious consent. Let's go deeper, punto. Have you ever had the feeling that someone else's energy is controlling a room? Not their words, not their body language, punto, but something deeper, like a frequency there, radiating into. That's not imagination. That's entrainment. Quantum physics tells us that particles sync their behavior when observed or influenced by a dominant field. In simple terms, your inner world broadcasts outward, and reality conforms, punto poems. This is why your mood can affect the outcome of a conversation before it begins. This is why people often repeat the same patterns with different faces. It's not bad luck. It's unconscious programming. And until you become aware of the script, you keep acting in the same sheen. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Most of what you call you isn't actually you. It's a collage of survival mechanisms, social conditioning, ancestral trauma, and absorbed expectations. And that's why awakening feels like death, because in many ways it is. Not of your body, but of the illusion that you were ever separate. And this is the truth they didn't want you to know. Because once you stop believing the lie, the whole system begins to lose its grip. If everyone realized they were creating their reality from the inside out, what would happen to control? To fear-based obedience? To the illusion of power? It would dissolve power. And that's what makes you dangerous. Not your rebellion, but your awareness. Because awareness rewrites code. Punto. Right now, you are beginning to rewrite your inner script. Thought. You're no longer the victim of thought. You're the chooser of thought tool. You're no longer at the mercy of your nervous system. You're tuning it consciously. And in that tuning, you begin to shift timelines. You may not see it yet, too, but something already changed. Your body felt it, how that your energy field responded. The next sheen has already begun adjusting. Because when you awaken, reality reconfigures to match Tunta Pintech. This is the moment of no return, and it's just the beginning. If you're still here, then something in you already knew this sim. You didn't arrive here by accident. You were called here. Now, help us awaken more minds. Like this video Tonta. Comment below. Arrive right in my reality from within. And subscribe to the Quantum Eye to join the ones who remember. Because once you remember, you see the illusion for what it is, and you can't unsee it ever again. Being to. You were taught to look outward, to scan the horizon, punto, to wait for proof, to seek validation, punto. But what if the answers weren't out there? What if the signal you've been waiting for was never meant to come from the world, but from you? Because there comes a moment in every seeker's path when something impossible happens, and yet it feels like a memory puntual. You've seen this before. Not in this body, maybe. Not in this lifetime tonta, but the symbols, the patterns, the way reality is folding in on itself. You've seen it, Titi, and now you can't unsee it. Because now the illusion has a crack in it, and through that crack, light is jetting in. The ancient texts spoke of this moment, not in modern language, but in riddles, in whispers passed down through firelight and stardust. Punti. They called it the lifting of the veil. They called it awakening. They called it the terrible knowing. Why terrible? Because it shatters the comfort of sleep. Punto. It tears away the illusion of control. It shows you that your hands were always the ones on the steering wheel. Even when you were crashing, you thought life was happening to you. But now you're seeing it was happening through you. Every coincidence, punto, every delay, punto, bear, every person who left, punto, tiwe, every door that slammed shut, punto. They weren't blocks. They were redirections. Divine Rerutas. Il Santo Guerra. From a higher mind that looks like you from a distance, but burns with light up close. And now you're feeling it, aren't you? That pressure in your chest, no, that sensation behind your eyes, the hum behind your thoughts, like reality is stretching, pull, like something body is about to shift. You're not imagining it, though. Your mind might try to dismiss it, but your body knows. Your nervous system knows. The field around you is reacting, because attention is permission. When you become aware of the pattern, you authorize it to show more of itself. And now it is no longer subtle. It's no longer silent. It's starting to speak in numbers. In glass. In perfectly timed interruptions. Have you noticed? Every time you think of walking away, a sign appears. Every time you almost quit, you overhear something that feels too precise to be random. Every time you surrender, something clicks into place. Why? Because this reality is responsive. It's alive. Dance. Exalive. It's encoded with instruction sets. And your consciousness is the password. You've been taught to call this coincidence. But what if it's just how reality talks? When you finally stop shouting, the silence is empty. Is full. Full of information. You weren't quiet enough to receive. Until now. That's why you're here. Not just in this video, but in this exact moment of your life. Because something inside you called for it. And now the outer world is echoing back. It always does. But now you're listening. If you something waking up inside you, and let it go quiet again. Like. Comment. Subscribe. Because every interaction here isn't just digital. Synergetic. And what you engage with, you amplify. Dossier. Back to the silence. The deeper truth is this. Reality is a story. But you're not just reading it. You're writing it. With your attention. And with your reaction. With your refusal to repeat old loops. You are the plot twist that your ancestors prayed for. You are the quantum anomaly that shifts the whole timeline. But only if you remember. So much. A forgetting is built into. This world was designed to make you fall asleep. Lull you with routine. To seduce you with sameness. But even in the deepest sleep, there are moments, dream fragments, when the veil thins and something ancient speaks. Or this is one of those moments. You may forget again. You may scroll past. You may return to the hum of the ordinary. But somewhere in you, this awareness will remain. And it will whisper at just the right moment. When you're about to settle through. When you're about to doubt. When you're about to choose fear. It will whisper. You weren't supposed to know this. But no, you do. Neon one. And everything will look different. What if the moment you questioned reality was the exact moment it began to show its seams? We are told that the world is stable, fixed. Mole. Bound by rules, held together by cause and effect. But ask any mystic, any quantum physicist, or any child staring at the stars, and you'll hear the same whisper. It's not as solid as they say. Look closer. The clock you watch only ticks because you believe in time. The mirror you fear only reflects what you expect to see. And the people you encounter may just be versions of yourself, wearing the masks your consciousness designed. Because the truth is, you are not in reality. You are streaming it, projecting it, rendering it moment by moment, through your attention, your belief, your memory. This is the truth they hope you never explore too deeply, that the external world is actually being generated from the internal world. Your brain is not a passive receiver. It's an active interpreter, a quantum sculptor. Every color you see is light filtered by your nervous system. Every sound you hear is vibration translated by your biology. Every person you meet is framed by the stories your mind has learned to tell. And yet, we insist the world is out there, independent, neutral. But have you ever woken from a dream and for a few seconds couldn't tell if you were still dreaming? That's not a glitch. That's a hint. Because consciousness does not end when the eyes open. It only shifts realms. This world is no more or less real than the one you see in your sleep. It's just the one your beliefs have agreed to render together. But what happens when one belief cracks? What happens when you question the shape of time, the permanence of objects, the continuity of memory? You start to see the matrix for what it is. Not a trap, but a template. Not a prison, but a palette. And once you realize you're the painter, you stop blaming the painting. Most people live inside a loop. Wake up, repeat the same thoughts, react the same way, replay the same relationships, doubt the same dreams. Why? Because they were taught to observe, not to create. They were conditioned to predict reality, not participate in its unfolding. But the moment you break the loop, the instant you choose a new response, a new story, a new belief, you begin rendering a new version of the world. This is not metaphor. This is physics. In the double-slit experiment, particles act like waves until they're observed. Once observed, they collapse into form, into facts, into reality. That's what you're doing every second. Collapsing potential into perception, choosing what to notice, and letting that become your world. So, what are you noticing today? Fear? Scarcity? Conflict? Or love? Synchronicity? Signs? Because whatever you're focusing on isn't just reflection, it's selection. Reality bends at the point of your awareness, just like light bends around gravity. The observer isn't powerless. The observer is God in disguise. So why don't we remember this? Because amnesia is part of the design. You had to forget your role to play it fully. You had to believe the illusion to learn how to awaken. It's the cosmic theater, where souls wear masks, and pretend to be separate, just long enough to learn why connection matters. And somewhere deep inside, you always knew. You knew there was more. More than bills and traffic and small talk. More than anxiety and algorithms. More than what you were taught to chase. You felt it in moments of stillness, in sudden déjà vu, in dreams that showed futures you hadn't yet lived. You've seen the clues, the number that keeps appearing, the stranger who said exactly what you needed to hear, the song that played at the perfect time. These weren't accidents. They were nudges, tiny winks from a deeper part of you, reminding you that you're not asleep, you're awakening. And now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You are not just a character in this game. You're also the coder. You are not just matter. You are pattern, a frequency tuned to a station of experience. But there are other stations, other timelines, other outcomes, waiting on your next thought, your next emotion, your next belief. So choose carefully, because the universe is not judging, it's mirroring. You don't attract what you deserve. You attract what you broadcast. And if you're still broadcasting old fear, old guilt, old shame, you'll keep replaying the same old story, with slightly different costumes. But the moment you emit truth, vibrate with courage, and surrender to joy, the whole simulation tilts in your favor. New characters arrive. Old wounds dissolve. The timeline shifts, not by force, but by resonance. And this is how reality changes, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. And here's where the illusion deepens. What if the version of you living this life is just one selection out of billions, chosen by attention and held together by belief? What if the self you know so well, the one with habits, fears, memories, preferences, is simply the echo of what you've decided to observe again and again? You've been taught that repetition builds identity. But what if repetition builds reality? Not the real kind. Not the kind that waits for you behind a closed door, but the kind that only exists because you keep looking at it. Because you keep expecting it. And expecting is the silent prayer of the quantum field. Every thought, every quiet dread, every little expectation you whisper beneath your breath is a script the universe follows without question. No committee, no debate, just alignment. The field isn't asking what you want. It's responding to what you are. And what you are is not what you say out loud. It's what you believe when no one's watching. It's the emotion in your chest when you check your bank account. It's the thought you have when someone says abundance. And your body flinches because deep down, it doesn't feel true. The field listens to that. Not your affirmations, but your alignment. Not your dreams, but your dominant vibration. This is why change is so hard. Because to create a new outcome, you must look where you've never dared to look. You must become unfamiliar with what you call familiar. You must stop observing what you've always seen. even when it's right in front of you. You have to stop choosing it. Once time, not with your hands, but with your eyes, with your awareness, with your internal agreement that this is just how life is. Because the longer you agree with it, the longer it stays. Not because it's true, but because you're feeding it attention. You're not a victim of reality. You're its curator. And now that you know, you can't unsee it. The version of you that feels stuck, that version is still being chosen. And it's being chosen by the part of you that doesn't want to lose control. The ego survives by keeping the loop going. It says, don't believe in miracles. They'll embarrass you. Don't change. It's dangerous. Don't let go. You might fall. But that's not truth. That's just programming. And the only way to break programming is to become the observer of the observer. To ask yourself, who's choosing this version of me? And why am I still obeying? Pause. Let that sit with you. Because here's the terrifying and liberating truth. You are not the version of you that is suffering. You are the awareness witnessing it. And awareness is sovereign. It doesn't have to obey. This is where your real power lies. Not in controlling your thoughts, but in observing them. Without believing every one of them is you. Because they're not. They're passing clouds. You are the sky. They are waves. You are the ocean. Once you remember that, your frequency shifts. And when your frequency shifts, the field must reorganize. It cannot stay the same. Because you are no longer the same. It's law. The law of resonance doesn't ask for your permission. It just mirrors. So mirror wisely. Don't reflect lack. Don't reflect fear. Don't reflect what the world told you you are. Reflect truth. Reflect light. Reflect the version of yourself that remembers the field is listening. One died. Wide me one ignited, one wire. Now, if this realization is speaking to you, take a second to subscribe to the Quantum Eye. Be cool. Because this journey isn't just about knowing. It's about becoming. And every video here is a reminder of that sacred process. You're not watching by accident. You're remembering. You're remembering the version of you that sees clearly, that chooses differently, that observes something new, and makes it real. You're not just the observer anymore. You're the creator, and you're just getting started. They say, if you stare long enough into the abyss stares back. But what if the abyss wasn't empty at all? What if it was filled with mirrors? Not the kind that reflect your body, but the kind that reflect your beliefs, your fears, your unspoken truths. This is where most people turn away, because once you see the mirrors, once you catch even a flicker of your own reflection in the folds of the cosmos, you too hore, muti, hukau, want shay, I hire the Israel, mace, wadui, gomdi deu, trustourism deu. You can't go back. You've cracked the illusion. And the illusion knows it. The moment you realize that everything is a projection of your inner world, you are left with a terrifying freedom. Because now, there's no one left to blame. No one left to fix you. No external force to rescue you or punish you. Only you and the canvas. Only you. And the code. Only you. And a universe waiting for new instruction. And that's what nobody tells you when you start waking up. They don't tell you how heavy sovereignty feels. At first. They don't tell you that when the veil drops. Loneliness doesn't come from being isolated. It comes from realizing you were the one holding the veil all along. You see, people beg to awaken. They chase enlightenment, signs, synchronicities. But the real awakening, it feels like ruin. It feels like everything you believed was sacred and solid suddenly crumbles beneath your feet. Not because truth is cruel, but because illusion was so comforting, so intoxicating. The matrix wasn't just built outside of you. It was built inside, cell by cell, story by story. It whispered, "This is how things are. This is all you can expect. Stay small. Stay safe." But the crack you feel now, the one splitting through your familiar sense of self, that isn't the end. That's the beginning. That's where the light leaks in. And suddenly, you're not begging anymore. You're remembering. You're not seeking signs. You're speaking them into existence. You're not chasing meaning. You're becoming the source of it. Because the real shift doesn't happen when you get more information. It happens when you start trusting your own transmission. You start treating your attention as sacred currency. You stop giving it away to chaos. You stop paying rent in mental prisons that were never yours to begin with. You begin to observe, not react. And this changes everything. Because the moment you observe with clarity, the moment you stop labeling, judging, and fearing, reality starts bending. It becomes malleable, responsive, a dance floor, not a battlefield. But you've got to stop flinching every time the old self dies. Because that death, that's the cost of vision. That's the price of true perception. Every belief you surrender makes space for a truth you couldn't hold before. Every identity you lay down opens the path to a self that doesn't need labels to exist. This is where you become dangerous to the old system. Not because you're loud, but because you're clear. Not because you're angry, but because you're free. Free from the narratives that kept you looping. Free from the timelines that needed your amnesia to survive. Free from the fear that if you let go, you disappear. You'll reappear. More whole than you've ever been. But here's the paradox. The more you awaken, the less you need to be seen. Because now you see. You see through projections. You see through distractions. You see that most people aren't scared of truth. They're scared of the responsibility that comes with it. So they look away. They scroll. You, me. They escape. They numb. But not you. You're still here. You didn't click away. You stayed in the tension long enough for clarity to rise. And that's rare. So let me remind you of something. This isn't a coincidence. This moment, right now, was written in your field long before you knew what to call it. And if you've made it this far, then your soul is ready for what comes next. But before we go further, take a breath. A real one. Let it move through your chest, down your spine, into your belly. Let the exhale carry away everything you thought you were supposed to be. Let the inhale remind you You're still here, still choosing, still opening, still remembering. Because you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to remember why you never could. And that remembrance, it's the crack in the simulation. It's the signal the quantum responds to. It's how you tell the field, I'm ready now. Show me what's real, not what's safe, not what's easy, but what's true. Once, rule. And once you send that signal, nothing, not even the strongest illusion, a high, can unring the bell. There's a reason the world distracts you constantly. A reason it feeds you endless noise. Scrolling, 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 so you never sit still long enough to hear the quiet truth within you. Because in that silence, you begin to remember. Not remember something taught, but something you already knew before all of this. You weren't supposed to know that. You weren't supposed to find your way back to that knowing. But now, you can't unsee it. You can't unfeel what it's like to wake up in the dream and realize you're the one dreaming it. This world, it bends, not to brute force, not to struggle, not to the loudest or most liked, but to the one who becomes still and remembers. When you shift internally, the world rearranges externally, not eventually, immediately, but not always visibly. And that's where the world loses you again, in that dangerous gap between cause and appearance, between planting the seed and seeing the bloom, because what's invisible is still real. Your new frequency is shaping everything, even when your eyes say nothing has changed, because your eyes are trained by the past. But your frequency, that's the future calling itself into now. There are people you haven't met yet who are already feeling the ripples of your shift. Opportunities already forming. Timelines bending like light through a prism. Ciao. All because you decided to wake up today. You were never meant to live asleep. You were never meant to obey the script handed to you by those too afraid to write their own. They taught you fear because it made you easier to control. They taught you to doubt, so you wouldn't trust the whisper inside you. They taught you to wait because your power terrified them. But your memory is returning, and with it, so is your power. That's why this awakening feels lonely sometimes, because you're leaving behind an entire world that was never built for your expansion. You're stepping into a frequency where fewer people have dared to go, where reality is no longer consensus, but creation. And yes, it's disorienting at first, because the world you see no longer feels like the one you belong to, and the one you belong to hasn't fully arrived yet. But don't turn back. Not now. Now, you're not crazy. You're just early. You are seeing the architecture of something most will only believe once it's finished. But visionaries don't wait for proof. They walk into the invisible and call it home. That's you now. You are no longer seeking truth. You are becoming the frequency where truth reveals itself, not through facts, not through data, but through alignment, through resonance. You don't need to explain what you feel. You don't need to convince those who doubt, because your life will soon become the only proof anyone needs. So don't hide your knowing anymore. Speak from your new vibration. Walk like the future already heard you, and it's rushing to meet you. You weren't supposed to remember this, but you did. Now, what will you do with it? If this opens something in you, if something clicked you can't explain, then share it. Your courage to say, "I see it too," might be the spark that awakens someone still on the edge. Leave a comment below. Let's start something real together. Not another trend, but a remembering. And if this frequency feels like home, then don't just watch, subscribe. Because this channel isn't about entertainment. It's about activation. Every video is a mirror for the part of you that was never asleep. And you weren't supposed to know this, but now that you do, everything begins to shift.